Why are the thumbnails for lives like they are? It's so weird. It just takes like the top of your head. I have to figure that whole piece out. So if you're finding my thumbnails to be strange, I apologize. I'll try and go back and fix it. But I just wanted to come on here this morning. I hope everyone is good. It is Friday Eve again already. I feel like it was just Thursday last week. And I know it was, but it seemed like it was the other day. And I hope everyone is good. Listen, I Charlene Hill, welcome in, welcome in. How are you doing? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thank you for those blessings and those hearts. Um, I'm just on here this morning. We got a little bit of snow, but nothing to write home and talk about. Remember, people used to say that back in the day. But we did receive a little bit of snow yesterday, just a sprinkling here in Charlotte. Nothing major. I wanted it to be major. I'm looking forward to it being major before this winter is over. But I hope that you all are safe, warm, and toasty. I really wanted to come on here. Oh, it's icy where you are? I thought it was going to be icy today, but it's not. Everything is pretty much clear, and I wanna listen, I don't want the cold that New York brings because I know how that is. I grew up in North Jersey, but you can ship some of the snow here, just not the ice or the cold. Our temperatures, it's so interesting. Our temperatures can be as cold as New York at times, but to me, it doesn't feel as cold as New York can be. You know how this time of year when you step outside and you talk or breathe, you can see your breath is white because it's so cold? Here, it rarely happens. That rarely happens in Charlotte. It can be as cold, but for some reason, it's not that cold that your breath is, white because it's so cold. But you know what? I wanted to come on here just to kind of get this out, and hopefully it can help someone because I know there are a lot of people in that sandwich generation where they're in between taking care of themselves, their family, their parents, or and when I say their family, it could be their spouse, partner, their children. But then, if they're not married or don't have children, they're still in that sandwich generation because they're trying to, set themselves up in the future so they have their careers or whatever and themselves to take care of, plus their parents as they begin to age. And, this society that we live in is so different than back in the day. Family members don't live in close proximity anymore. I remember growing up and my mother's father lived just a town over from us, so caring for him on a weekly, daily basis or whatever, it was really easy for my mother. I won't say it was easy, easy, but first of all, she had a sister also that lived nearby that also was supportive. But my mother could easily just go to the grocery store, pick him up what he needed, take it to him, make sure he had what he needed, take him to the doctors, everything, boom, bam, during the holidays, he would come by, and it was just a very simple process. I know towards the end of his life, he had to be in more of a hospice type of situation, but he was able to live with us. He actually passed away in my home, and it was interesting. I actually, my grandfather, when he lived with us, I was working in New York, and so I had my grandfather. I was very blessed to have had him until I was in my about 23, 24 years old. He wasn't alive for my wedding, but he did meet my husband when we were dating and had great conversations with him. I remember once he was in a hospital emergency situation, and my boyfriend, who's my husband now, took me to the hospital. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I didn't even care. I just wanted to go see my grandfather, and we both sat in with him, and he just told us some remarkable stories of him growing up, like at the age of 9, losing both parents, and he was the oldest of 4, or no, oldest of 5. Well, 5 altogether, and, at 9 years old, he was the man of the house. He was responsible for his siblings, and he took care of them. They lived in Danville, Virginia, and just his trades that he ended up becoming skilled in, and the work that he was able to do, and how he took care of his family, like I said, since he was 9, and then becoming, growing up and moving to New Jersey, meeting my grandmother and getting married and having children and taking care of her and the children, and supporting still like his siblings, helping them start their life off and everything. And a lot of times people don't talk to the elders and get their backstory. And I was always that child, even when I was a lot younger than that, that always sat under my great aunts and such to hear their story. I never met my grandmother. She passed away the year before I was born, my mother's mother. And her sisters were still alive. I mean, well, and one of them lived to be like 101. They lived long lives. And because I never knew my grandmother and I knew how close they all were, I would ask them so many questions about my grandmother. And one time, one of them said, "Are you writing a book? Like, what are you doing?" And and so, I just got a text, and Sheila Thompson is in the building. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good to see you. Dr. Hope, oh no, DT Hope 23 TV is in the building. Joshua Gabriel, good to see you. Good to see you. Loving Myself is here. It's wonderful to see you. And let me see. Hole Inson Kidava, hi to you. I'm not sure if I said your name correctly, and I apologize if I didn't, because I know our names are the sweetest sound to our ears. So I wasn't doing that on purpose. Thank you for the support, DT Hope 23 TV. Thank you, and I appreciate that. So I see also Ricardo Gutierrez is here. Thank you. And you are in San Diego, California at work now at Southwest Airlines. I want you to stay safe. San Diego is a beautiful place, and I hope that you have a wonderful Friday Eve, Thursday today for sure. And you were the same way. You love to sit under your grandma and you had your grandmother too to hear their stories. Sheila, that is such a blessing. Oh, and the only thing that I wish I would have done, especially talking to my great aunts, was even though I was not writing a book, but to scribe what they were saying, write it down so that I could always recall it and share it with my children. I still do verbally, but and you know what? That's how they used to do it back in the day. They would just share their stories traditionally, verbally, through storytelling. There really wasn't anything written. It's just passed on through the times. But I want the stories to remain accurate. And you know how they have those exercises, those telephone threads or lines or whatever, where you would stand in the line and one person gets the message and they have to whisper it down the line. And by the end, it is a totally different story. And with family history, I don't want it to be a totally different story. I want it to be an accurate story. So maybe what I do remember exactly, I will write it down so that, some bits and pieces you can say, oh, you know, Coach Sherri or mommy or auntie, grandma, whatever, she has it written as such. And, then they can go off from there. But I see also, let me see, Mason Locklear is here. How are you? I'm just getting my day started, so I hope your day is good. But I just wanted to share too, so Tuesday, I went and took my dad to his doctor's appointments. I just really wanted to get a pulse check on how things were doing with him, making sure that no major changes. If things are still steady, does he still need certain things? Just really getting a handle on it. And I'm the type of caregiver that asks a lot of questions. I do. And if I don't get the right answers, it really upsets me. It makes me low key very mad on the inside. With my mother, I really showed my anger a lot because they were just trying to treat her cookie cutter, give her whatever. My mother lived with ALS, and y- it's just a really challenging dis-ease. And I always wanted her to be comfortable. I wanted her to be good. I wanted her to be understood. And so as her caregiver, many times I was her mouthpiece. I was definitely her biggest advocate. And, just making sure that whatever she needed, it was specific for her and that it was comfortable for her. And that's a very hard undertaking when you are that advocate, that vocal person, and you are the caregiver. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot that it takes out of you. You know, Caring for her was physical also. I had to, lift her in many instances, bathing her every day, getting her out of the bed even though she couldn't walk. I always made sure her feet touched the ground, got her in. We had a beautiful wheelchair that was actually remote controlled. It was the creme of the creme. It was amazing. And, most times I was with her alone, if my dad or my husband wasn't around, and I had to do what I had to do for her. I never ever had a diaper put on her. My mother was royalty. My husband always referred to her as Queen Moms because he felt like she was royalty too, always called her Queen Moms. And so I wanted to, care for her and give her dignity and give her the best care because she always gave the people, the elders in our family, the best care, just like she cared for her dad and, did it. I know there were days and nights when my grandfather, I hope that y'all can still hear me because I got a phone call that just came in. I'm gonna have to call them back. But when my mother was caring for my grandfather, can y'all hear me now? Please put a yes in the chat if you can hear me. And I see everyone is speaking. Thank you. All right. I grew up right across the George Washington Bridge from the Bronx, Gabriel. I I mean Joshua Gabriel. I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey. But I know that there were some moments, when my mother was really tired. Okay, good. Thank you, loving myself. Thank you. And so she still did it, and luckily again my grandfather lived right there. And so when my mother was first diagnosed with ALS, and even before she was diagnosed, I was back and forth. My children were very young, and my parents lived 4 hours from me. They had retired, sold their business, and moved 4 hours further north from me. And 4 hours was much closer than 10 hours because, Charlotte to New Jersey is 10 hours, but they lived closer. And, you know, it seemed like it was a good distance when everything was good, but, as she was getting weaker and everything, and I'm back and forth, and my children, again, they were in 1st grade, 3rd grade, and 5th grade, and it was just a lot. My children were very active. My husband was there. Luckily, his parents moved from New York to Charlotte too at the time, but it was still a lot. And my husband actually went to Virginia to ask my parents to move with us. But my parents were like, "What? We're good. My father, I could take care of my wife." So they didn't. And then my mother, not too long after, took a turn for the worse, and it was going to be challenging to move her, but she still didn't want to go because my dad didn't. And so we ended up going to Virginia and stopped our world. But I know my mother needed the best care, and that's the thing, especially then with the health care system and still now, you can have some of the best medical insurance care, and everything. But if they don't want to take care of what you need, they won't. They just won't. And because my mother also was on a ventilator, all providers acted like, "Oh, we're so scared. We can't do anything. We're not going to come to the house. We're not going to do this or that. She has to go to a facility 6 hours away." All this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, my parents had amazing insurance. Why would she doesn't deserve that. So I ended up learning how to take care of a ventilator. You can call me a respiratory therapist in real life because I'm really good at it. But I did it for my mother, and we ended up caring for her until the end, and it was every day, 24/7. So you know, it taught me a lot, and I knew that she would have gotten better care in Charlotte. She just would have, and I was always so mad at the doctors. Some of them I banned from her room forever. Like, don't ever, you can't lay eyes. You don't deserve it. You cannot lay eyes on my mother again. And they didn't. It was just wild. But anyway, So, my dad is 86 years old, and I don't want the same scenario because I know that the healthcare system where he's at is still subpar. And I feel like, everyone deserves the best. Everyone does. But I know my parents worked very hard for everything that they have. They did very well with their finances and making sure that their future and their retirement years were going to be financially secure. And they just deserve the best treatment. And, I haven't gone with my dad to the doctors in a while. My brother has been doing so, because, I have my own challenges, my own health issues, and I'm wanna live and be here for my family, and that wear and tear going up and down the road is a lot. Um, and it's just a lot, and the fury that I feel when I see the subpar, the less than adequate treatment, it makes me very furious, and that's very stressful. And I don't need that in my life. And so, for whatever reason, my dad just wants to stay where he's at. And there's so many better accommodations for him, but he's wanting to stay there. And going to the doctors, first of all, I had to leave my house at 4 a.m. to get to him by 8 a.m. because his doctor's appointment was at 9. And it was 45 minutes to that doctor, and then we had another appointment in Richmond, which was another about 20 minutes away further north. So now I'm like 5 hours from Charlotte, right? And then after that, coming back and then coming back to Charlotte and just having those conversations with the doctors, I promise you, if you have elders in your family and if they're your parents, definitely make sure they are getting the best treatment. If they don't have children and you are part of their circle, please go with them to the doctors. I really believe that the care that my father is receiving, I believe that it's the Tuskegee experiment. I believe they're doing a lot of experimental things with him, to see how he's going to fare. And it's just really disheartening. And I am just like, right now, I know I'm just sitting here chilling or whatever, but just thinking about it makes me very sad and angry at the same time because I know that he can have better care somewhere else. But I don't really have that support system outside of my, immediate family for him to get that care, and I just don't understand it because we all deserve the best, and we all would want the best if we were ever in a situation where we needed to have a particular type of care. And my father is a true soldier, I promise you. He understands, like, his decision and how impactful it is, and so even at 86, he's trying to do the best that he can. He's eating better. His pressure is amazing. Low key, his vitals, he's probably healthier than me at this point. He's walking more. He's really trying to stay as healthy and as active as he can because he knows that, there's no one really close. My brothers, they both live about 6, 7 hours away from him further north, and that's 10 hours from me. And so there's no one really close by. I mean, there's elder people nearby, but it's not like grandchildren or children, that are there. Even in case of an emergency, it would take me, I don't care how fast I drive, it takes me 4 hours to get to him door to door. That's a long time. Do you know the types of things that happens to a person in 4 hours? So I hear, other content creators that are caring for their parents, and I take my hat off to you because I know how that is. I know my husband took care of his dad too. His dad passed shortly after my mother, and he took care of him to the very end as well with his mom. You know, but I know there are content creators that are caring for their parents. I know Carter's Eat, she has her parents living with her and her family. She's in a multi-generational household. I know It's Melissa B is taking care of her dad. She used to travel back and forth too, and that was a lot, y'all. It's a lot to do that. And now he's there with her, which is a blessing. And don't forget the elders. Do what you can. If you are an elder and you are listening to this video, if you are not willing to move near with or whatever with your family members that are going to care for you, make sure where you do live that the healthcare system is great. Not adequate, not all right, not average, but great. There's too many places in this country that there are great healthcare systems. I mean, I asked a simple question when we went to my father's second appointment because his first physician said, when they do what they do today, ask them to send me the notes from today's visit. That's a very simple request. When I got to the second appointment and I said, this doctor would like to have the notes from today's session, you would have thought I said, "I need you to make Chick-fil-A special sauce." They were like, "What? What you mean?" I said, "They would like to have the notes, and this is where you would send it." I gave them the card. They were like, well, if you go into my chart, you can do." I said, "They want it from you. Like, no, I'm not doing all that. It's a simple request." Well, the doctor probably won't put the notes in the system until tonight or tomorrow. I don't care. They want the notes. And see, why do I have to even come with that energy? Because I already know. I already know. And, my father's second appointment is at a hospital that my mother spent a lot of time in when I was caring for her. I mean, one point we stayed there for 6 weeks straight, and I stayed in her room for the entire 6 weeks. And I always looked at that hospital as my house. Like when people would come, I would meet them down in the lobby, be like, "Come on," as if it was my mansion. Like, "Come on, let's go." And so when I go back now, I always have triggers. I'm always thinking about those moments. Some of them were not so good. Some of them were okay. They were, reminiscent and everything. But, that's where my mother took her last breath as well. So it's kind of like, ugh, you know, um, it's a lot in that it's a lot around that hospital too. As we drive, I always think about the streets that I used to walk down, in between when I just had to step off as she was still in the hospital. And, I would just be like, wow, yeah, I used to walk over there, or, you know, those types of things. And yeah, so this is almost like a public service announcement, and I know that I've talked about this before. Some people that I know, they don't prefer that I talk about it anymore, as if it's just, it's over. It's not. It's not. It's not. Um, when someone is caring for you, you have to make sure that they're good. You do, because that's important too. You don't want something to happen to your caregiver. I know when I was caring for my mother, that was one of my biggest worries, I would say, is, Lord, please take care of me. Because if I go down, like what? And I know one time when I was caring for her, I did catch a respiratory infection, and I had to be very, very careful, caring for her with that. So you want to make sure that the people that are caring for you are good. And I never want people that I'm caring for to feel that they are a burden, because that's not the case. It's just that we all have to work this thing out together, and it has to be accommodating for everyone. Because if one person's not good, we're all not good. And I know that I still have so much life to live. I think about, my future grandchildren. I don't have any yet. I want to be able to care for them like my mother and father, my mother-in-law and father-in-law cared for our children. As it is, because I cared for my mother and had to lift her all the time, my shoulders are messed up. I have degenerative arthritis in both my shoulders. They want to do shoulder replacement. I'm like, what is shoulder replacement? How you do that? You take the arm off? Like, what does that look like? So I can't lift anything over 5 pounds. And if I'm holding something heavy, I definitely have to be sitting down with it. So how am I going to even walk around with my grandbabies? That's going to be challenging. I won't be able to at the end of the day. And so I think about those things as I still am a partial caregiver. And I know that if my dad was closer to me, it would be so much easier. I would have support, definitely my kids would be there to pitch in. The appointments wouldn't take 10 hours. It was a 10-hour day. It was longer than 10 hours because I left at 4. I didn't get back until 9 p.m. Heck, it was 10 hours just for travel. That doesn't even include the appointments. Whereas, I look around at Charlotte, we have so many great medical facilities. I pass them all the time, all day, all day. Or even if he moved further north, closer to my brothers, and, it would just be, much more accessible. And we would know that he has great care. He could be where he's at if he had great care, but there's not great care there. That's my point. And I feel like it's selfish for anyone to not think that that's cool or to think that it is cool. I think that's selfish. Yeah. And I get it. Everybody has their own mind. You don't want to take decisions, too many decisions away from a person. You want them to be able, as long as they can, to make decisions for their life. But it's impactful for other people. When I'm not with him, I worry. Is he okay? But there's nothing I could do. It's not like if he called me and, I couldn't stop. If I stopped and dropped everything, it would still take me 4 hours to get to him. I remember one time he called and I was unable to answer, and he was like, "What if it was an emergency?" I said, I can't even be your ice because 'cause I'm too far." So, it's a lot, yeah. And good morning, Wellness with Frugal Mama. Good to see you. Yeah. So it's a lot. So I'm exhausted. It's going to take me probably about 2 weeks to recover. No, because I have a lot going on, just with my life as well. And it's not saying that I'm putting what I have going on in my life over him, but at the same time, life has to continue on. Like with my mother, I stopped my world. And when I stopped my world, and it was a blessing at the end. And I saw that and I owned that and I told her, you know, it changed the dynamics of who I am and even the types of businesses that I have. I listen, before my mother was sick, I was a shark out here. I was bad to the bone. Oh, in business, I was one of those sharks. I listen, I cut you off at the kneecap. I was, ooh. But with my mom, I learned how to be humble and patient and kind. Yeah, I gave them hell in the hospital. I sure did. But, it taught me to be real patient and just kind of like taking life as it comes and not being that bent over, bent up about it. When I see people and they, are just like huffing and puffing about life and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, it's not ALS. So it's all right. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. But, when I know that things impact me and my life, that's when, the fury starts to come back out because y'all, I just want to, do the best for all involved. And the all involved is not just, the parent or the loved one, it's you too. So you have to be real mindful of that. And I love my father. He's one of the dopest men I know. Between him and my husband, they the two dopest men I know in real life. And, God rest his soul, my father-in-law was a great man too. And I appreciate my father, wanting to remain independent and doing all that he can. But at the same time, the expectations, for what we have to still do is a lot. And I just don't understand how people in his circle aren't telling him different. Like they just let him say whatever he wants to say and be good with it. And I know he's I mean, if y'all could see how he's doing pretty good actually. He inspires me to want to, do better with my life. And be here. Goodness, God willing, 86 is a blessing and beyond. So it's just, these sidebars, these moments when you got to wake up at 4 in the morning to get there at 8, and then you got to hit the road as soon as you get there so you can get to where you need to go by 9. And then the doctors are so subpar to me. Listen, I ask the real questions, and that's the thing too. My father's 86. The doctor's talking to him. He can't understand him. He has a his doctor has a one of the doctors has a Indian accent. And my father's like, "What?" And the doctor's still not saying it. I could hear it. I catch that. And so I'm telling my dad, and he's trying to understand. And so I get it. So when I'm not there, and if no one else is asking questions, there's no questions being answered. And they love that. Doctors love that, especially in areas like where my dad is, because now you could be part of that Tuskegee experiment. Because nobody, who's gonna check me, boo? Who's gonna check me? That's why periodically I need to go up and check him. And I shouldn't have to. Just why aren't you giving him the best? Why is he still on this? Why does he still have that? When he's doing well, his numbers are good. What you talking about? He's 86. Why does he still have to do this? If everything is good. It's better to need and not have than have and not need, or have and not need, or need and not have. He's 86. Why does he have to have that procedure? Why is he still taking that medicine? Listen, my father's blood pressure is like, it was 117/70. What? If my blood pressure was that low, I would be outside right now doing cartwheels. I would be doing cartwheels. Yeah. Sometimes the best you can do is the best you can do. And so what I'm doing is, making some phone calls today to the doctors to make sure is happening. Um and just taking it one day at a time at this point. I mean, he's made up his mind, and no one is there to support the decision, to stay where he's at. And I just don't have the fight in me to, to do anything different about it. I don't. I'm not. I tell my dad, I'm not no young chipper whippersnapper anymore. Hell, I have AARP too. I'm 55. I'm double nickel in this piece. Listen. I'm a senior citizen, damn near just like you at this point. He looks at me like a young girl still. Like I'm his young daughter. I'm his baby. I'm the youngest of three, and I get it. I get it. Listen, I look at all my children like my babies. I know. But hell, when we go out to eat, I'm getting the senior discount too. At least that's what he pays for. He'd be like, "Yeah, that'll be two seniors." What? I'm like, Dad. He's been paying senior citizen rates for me since before I was a senior citizen. But am I a senior citizen at 55? That's so wild to me. But I tell him, I'm like, Dad, your kids are grown now. Like, we are older. We have issues and challenges, and we're trying to live. Help us, help you, help us. Or however that goes. It's so funny. Good morning, Tuber Chat, Connect and Grow. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing this on Reddit. And word up to you. Absolutely. I'm glad everyone is speaking. It's good to see you back, Loving Myself. I'm telling y'all, just say her name, Loving Myself. That is so powerful and empowering. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yes, let me see. I was trying to go to the Bronx Zoo a couple of summers ago, and I think it was sold out or something. And I said, "It's sold out." I never been to a zoo that sold out, and we had to go. We had to turn around. I was like, "Wait, what's going on?" But I'm glad everyone is here. I appreciate you for being my listening ear. It wasn't a rant. It really was a public service announcement, because there's so many people out here that are in that sandwich generation where they're taking care of the elders in their family. And there's just certain things that I feel people don't talk about. They don't talk about the challenges. They don't talk about the subpar healthcare in certain parts of this country. They don't talk about the challenges it is on the caregiver. And I just want you as a caregiver to care for yourself and make sure you're good, you know? Black Guns and Gardens is in the building. Welcome in, welcome in. There's a video that you had put out the other day, and I said I need to check that out. I put it on my watch later list, so I'll definitely be coming over for sure. Wellness with Frugal Mama. I missed you this morning. I'm trying to catch up on my rest and just kind of unwind. It's a lot, but it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. It is. It has to be. God said it will, right? I put all my trust in him and it's all going to be all right. And my dad does too. Y'all, he is a dope man. If he lived near me, y'all, he would be all over the place. People would love him. He has so much wisdom, knowledge, and he still is so relevant. He knows what's going on in the world. He understands business like the back of his hand and just has so many great just information that he's always willing to share, and he just has so much value still. And it would be so amazing if he lived in a place where that value that he shares is being implemented, if people that he tells it to are really doing something with it. I mean, he tells it to whoever will listen, but I think people are just listening just to hear him talk and not necessarily taking action with the things that he's talking about. He's seen a lot in his life and never has taken anything for granted. And I say that because he remembers. When you don't remember, when you don't recall, and I'm talking about the good, the bad, and it all, you're taking it for granted. So whatever you go through in life, the good, the bad, the ugly, you have to remember it so you can recall it. His testimony is strong. It is very strong. And that's something that I've learned from him, is to remember it all, because it's all your testimony and it can help someone. So again, with this information that I shared today, I'm not trying to bash anyone. If anyone from my circle is listening and probably getting mad or whatever, that's on you. I can't control that. That's on you. Because, in real life, if you knew how it could be, you would be pushing it. If you understood how it could be, you would be pushing it. You know what I'm talking about. So, loving myself is saying hello. You hit 50 subs. That's good. You're going to start going live. You need to just push that plus sign at the bottom and make sure you have it. It's going to say unlisted at first. You make sure you have it for public viewing or whatever it's called. You don't want it to be unlisted, because you'll be talking and be like, why isn't anybody coming in to my lives? Where's everybody at? They don't know you're live if it's unlisted. So just make sure it's listed in public. All right. Well, everyone, I'm way over time. I have to go. I have some really great things going on today, and I have to just do a couple of things to prepare for them, and then I'll be straight. So I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful Friday Eve, which is Thursday. I just can't believe it's Thursday again already. And you enjoy your day. Be kind to someone. You never know who may need it. Say hello. How you doing? Can I help you? Are you lost? What's going on? You know, find some time to care, not just for yourself, but for others. Until we speak again, remember, practice every day. Practice so hard that when you get into play, you will always win, y'all. You will always win. You're already winning, so just continue. All right? I am Coach Sherri.